信じてくれたのは信じてくれたの信じてくれたのは
Yo, what is up, bros? Back with the great
Do you speak Japanese? Do you speak Japanese?
Test, what will I look like when
Drawing flags. These countries are smaller than you think. We got big Greenland up here. Prove. So yeah, some of the maps in this map video might be a little sadder than normal. What I'm going to do is 100% of all of the ad revenue that this video makes will be literally just
sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío. Sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la hacia el caserío, sin mi caserío. Yo soy de Carrington, pero la
We don't need a rocket.
Pred medveďmi vás ochráni roľnička a pred nástrahami na internete služba online
This episode is brought to you by 24houраnswers.com.
The European continent is one of the most beautiful places on Earth, featuring some of the most diverse landscapes and beautiful cities imaginable. It's also home to many famous mountain ranges that span multiple countries and cultures, as well as some countries that are famously not so mountainous. Today, I'll be going through each European country's point of highest elevation, in order from lowest to highest, in a similar fashion to my video about the highest point in each US state from a few months ago. Also, just so you know, I'm only including high points from locations that are actually within the European continent, so for some examples, Greenland will not count for Denmark, but we will consider the highest point in European Turkey. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get started. The country with the lowest high point in all of Europe is the Vatican City, whose highest point is Vatican Hill. This hill is home to the beautiful St. Peter's Basilica and comes in at an elevation of just 75 meters above sea level. Another tiny nation takes the second lowest European high point of the list, Monaco. Its Chemin de Revoir is the highest point in the country, which is a path on the slope of Mont Agel, a mountain reaching its peak in France. At 163 meters above sea level, Chemin de Revoir is found right on the border of the two countries. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the famously flat nation of Denmark has the next lowest high point, being found at Mullehøj in the Skanderborg municipality. It has an elevation of 171 meters. Heading back down to the Mediterranean Sea, we find Malta and its highest point of Tad Mezrek, a location found among the Dingley Cliffs, 253 meters above sea level. They offer nice views of the southern Maltese coastline. Back up north is Lithuania, home to Aukštojas Hill, found in the very southeast portion of the country right on the border with Belarus. It's found at 294 meters above sea level and is named after the creator of the world in ancient Lithuanian mythology. Fellow Baltic neighbor to the north, Latvia, features Geisenkalns, the first high point on the list over 300 meters, at 312 meters high. For my fellow Americans keeping track at home, it's the first one over 1,000 feet. Geisenkalns is home to a small ski resort and used to have an observation tower, but it was torn down due to safety concerns. You guessed it, Estonia is up next, completing the trifecta of Baltic states. Suurmunamägi is the highest point in Estonia, with an elevation of 318 meters. It's found in the southeastern portion of the country, not too far from the tri-point with Latvia and Russia. Another nation globally famous for being flat and low-lying is the Netherlands, which is home to the Heer Valserberg at 321 meters. It's found right at the tri-point with Belgium and Germany, and is a pretty popular destination with an observation tower and a hedge maze. Belarus is the next country up on the list, with its highest point of 345 meters being found at Zyarchinskaya, a hill which is fairly central within Belarus and just a bit west of the capital Minsk. There is a small pyramid-shaped monument at the top. Down in Moldova we find Balanești Hill, the highest point in the country at 430 meters above sea level. According to some Google reviewers, there's nothing at the hill that points out that it's the highest point in the whole country, but they all do agree that it's a nice spot. In the far western portions of European Kazakhstan, we find the highest point of Gord Otpan, a 556-meter mountain found in the desert region of Mangistau. At the top is a mausoleum and several statues, and there's a great view of the desert surroundings. Hopping back over to the Benelux region takes us to Luxembourg's highest point, Knife, a hill found close to the tri-point with Belgium and Germany, and at an elevation of 500 Frange, a 694-meter plateau found in the eastern portion of the country. The area is home to a communications tower and a cafe, and it's a popular starting point for cross-country skiing. San Marino brings us down to the Italian peninsula once again, with its highest point Monte Titano at 749 meters above sea level. The mountain slopes are home to the city of San Marino and is a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site, featuring fortress towers and other impressive structures. Hungary is the first country on the list with a high point at over 1,000 meters in elevation. Kikesh is the highest point in the country at 1,014 meters. Located in the northern part of the country, it's a quite popular Hungarian destination, featuring skiing options and a TV tower at the peak. Maya Dağ takes us to another transcontinental nation, Turkey. This 1,031 meter mountain peak is the tallest on the European side of the country and is a scenic hiking and lookout destination for the region. The surrounding mountain range are popular hiking destinations, and there's a large steel cross at the summit. Up on the Norway-Finland border lies Finland's highest point, Halti. This is a pretty interesting case since the true peak of this rugged area is actually just over the border in Norway, leaving a lower elevation spot just barely in Finland as that country's highest point at 1,324 meters. Back down to the British Isles brings us the United Kingdom's highest point, Ben Nevis, at 1,345 meters. This mountain is found in Scotland and is a popular destination. The summit features the ruins of a 19th century observatory, and the mountain is a collapsed ancient volcano. Czechia's northern border with Poland features the former's highest point of 1,603 meters, the mountain Snežka. The summit is split in two by the border and is home to a meteorological observatory. This mountain is yet another famous and popular European hiking destination. Going south from here takes us to Croatia, whose highest point is Dinara, a peak in the mountain range with the same name along the border with Bosnia. With an elevation of 1,831 meters, it also lends its name to the Dinaric Alps range, which stretches along the Adriatic Sea. Jumping up to Eastern Europe, Ukraine's highest point is Hoverla, a mountain in the Carpathian range which stretches across the southwestern portion of the country. It offers great panoramic views of the area and is a very popular Ukrainian destination. Sweden's highest point is the mountain Kebnekaise with an elevation of 2,097 meters. It's located the northern peak as the highest point in Sweden. Another cold climate high point, Iceland's Vanadalshnúkur, is 2,110 meters high. It's located on the southern edge of the island and is part of the Öræfajökull volcano, a massive active volcano. Back on the mainland, Serbia's highest point outside of Kosovo's claimed territory is Miđor, a Balkan mountain peak found on the border with Bulgaria. It has an elevation of 2,169 meters, and access to the peak was restricted until the 90s due to it being located on the border. Here's an interesting case. Since some islands in the Azores are found on the Eurasian tectonic plate, they're technically and tectonically part of the European continent. As such, Portugal's highest point is Mount Pico, a stratovolcano on Pico Island, at 2,351 meters above sea level. Bosnia and Herzegovina's highest point is Maglic, a mountain 386 meter peak as its national high point. Up in Scandinavia once again, Norway is home to the mountain Galdhøpiggen, which is also the tallest mountain peak in the entire region at 2,469 meters tall. A high point dispute existed for many years with Glittertind, but like in Sweden, that mountain's glacier has shrunk, leaving it as the second highest Norwegian peak. Rysi is the highest mountain point in Poland, found along the Slovakian border. Of the three summits, the northwesterly one is the only one found in Poland and is the country's high point at 2,499 meters. Time for yet another mountainous high point found on an international border. This time it's Montenegro's highest point, Zla Kolata, a 2,534 meter mountain shared with Albania. With a large summit, it's also a popular destination in both countries. Romania's highest point is centrally located within the country, Moldoveanu Peak, at an elevation of 2,544 meters. It offers fantastic panoramic views of the Transylvanian Alps region and is a noteworthy climbing destination for the area. Our first truly alpine nation, Liechtenstein, has its highest point at compared to the rest of the Alps. Slovakia brings us the tallest mountain peak of the entire Carpathian range, Gerlachowski. This impressive peak reaches 2,655 meters above sea level and is quite close to Poland's highest point, which I mentioned a few high points ago. The disputed Kosovo's highest point is Velika Rudoka, found in the southern extent of the country near the North Macedonian border. Reaching an elevation of 2,658 meters, it would be the highest peak in Serbia according to that country's territorial claim. For the next high point on the list, two countries actually share the same high point. Both Albania and North Macedonia have Mount Korab, which sits on the border not too far from their tri-point with Kosovo. It reaches an elevation of 2,764 meters. Back in the Alps, Slovenia's Triglav is the highest point in the country at 2,864 meters. The mountain is a national symbol of the Slovene identity. Atop the summit is a small metal tower called Aljaz Tower, which was constructed in 1895. One of the most famous mountains in the world makes its appearance, Greece's Mount Olympus. It's perhaps best known as the mythological home of the Greek gods, which was said to be on Mytikas, the tallest peak of Olympus. It reaches an elevation of 2,917 meters. Jumping one country north to Bulgaria brings us that country's highest point, Musala, the highest peak of the entire unfortunate demise in an electrical fire in 1983. The highest point in the Pyrenean nation of Andorra is found at the peak of Coma Pedrosa, reaching 2,942 meters in elevation. A popular climbing destination for its strenuous but not technically complex ascent, it historically helped to protect the small country from outside invasion. Southern Germany's Alpine territory is home to the highest German point, Zugspitze. With a height of 2,962 meters, 3 cable cars run to the summit of the mountain, and it's also 62 meters, 3 cable cars run to the summit of the mountain, and it's also home to a weather station and popular ski slopes. Taking a quite large leap in elevation, Spain's highest point, Mulhacén, is the first high point on this list over 3,000 meters. That's over 10,000 feet in American terms, at 3,479 meters. Located in far south Spain, this is the tallest mountain on the Iberian Peninsula, and on clear days, Africa can be seen from its summit. Up in the picturesque Austrian Alps, the highest point of the country is Großglockner, reaching 3,798 meters. Tourism to the area is very popular, and the nearby Großglockner High Alpine Road is the highest paved road in the country. Our next transcontinental country and the first Caucasus nation on the list, Azerbaijan, is home to Mount Bazarduzu, the highest point on the most famous mountainous country in the world. Switzerland's highest point of Dufourspitze has an elevation of 4,634 meters and is the highest peak of Monte Rosa. It's the second highest peak of the Alps, which can only mean one thing. That's right, Mont Blanc or Monte Bianco, with an elevation of 4,808 meters, is the highest mountain in the Alps and the shared high point of the countries of France and Italy. This is a world-famous mountain, and the region is an extremely popular outdoor sports destination for Europe. In second place for European country high points, the European side of the transcontinental nation Georgia is home to Shkara, a 5,201 meter mountain peak on the border with Russia. The entire massif which Shkara is part of is often considered to be the most difficult in all of Europe. And this, of course, leaves only one country in Europe that has the highest point of the entire continent, Russia. Not too far away from Shkara lies Mount Elbrus, a 5,000 a sight to behold. And that concludes this look at every European country's highest point, from small hills to towering glaciers.